If it was a room full of people and I didn't know them, I would find it really, really hard to walk into that room. Another reason I don't do a lot of public speaking is that I feel very shy about it, and I think a lot of women do, because I think that people expect public speakers in certain social, at certain social occasions to tell jokes, and I don't think a lot of women find that very easy or a comfortable way to communicate.
Culturally, we don't really admire people who talk a lot. We say, he's got the gift of the gab with a sneer. We talk about people he's got a lot to say for himself. That's an insult. Unlike, for example, Italy or France, where someone who can talk and has plenty to say is admired and enjoyed.
Talking.
Barrister Graham Davies is one of the country's most popular after-dinner speakers.
I was lying in bed this morning, wondering whether it was time I ought to go home. And I turned to my wife's sister and asked her to answer the phone, and there, on the other end of the line, was Sandi speaking to me in that rather charming nasal whine of hers. So I accepted the reverse charges, and when I finally agreed to speak here tonight, she said to me, "Graham, you're a brick." Or at least that's what I think she said. Now, for those of you who are already looking forward to getting away, the good news is that I never speak in public for any longer than I can make love in private. So in conclusion, I know that you've all enjoyed working with each other. There are some tremendous characters present in the studio tonight. Robert Wright, with his amazing dress sense, he's the sort of guy who can light up a room simply by walking out of it. But as you know, he's also rather a shrewd Scot, and I've heard a rumour that when he goes on holiday, he takes a £5 note and a pair of underpants, and he doesn't change either of them. I'm very pleased also to see that Duncan Burke has won his long fight against anorexia to be with us in the studio. Also, I think you're very fortunate having an academic contingent here with us. Shelley Keane, of course, is a student of English and drama, and during her studies she's become quite an expert. Indeed, she's just finished her second book, and she's going to start colouring her third tomorrow. Now, during the course of the programmes, you've all got to know the production team, like, for instance, the floor manager, who's had rather a heavy effect on you, I know. He actually... No, it's true. He has a difficult job. He actually told me before the broadcast, in strict confidence, and I quote, that there are 3 types of floor manager: those who can count and those who can't count. Yes, it took me a long time to get that one as well. Now, Sandi, of course, I know she's been an inspiration to you all. Sandi's a girl with a joke for every occasion, and I've enjoyed hearing it again tonight. You may have found her rather assertive. I know I did when I arrived. She said to me, "Well, after the programme, would you like to come back to my place and watch some TV?" I said, "Oh, have you got cable?" And she said, "No, but I've got some bloody strong rope." Well, ladies and gentlemen, all good things must come to an end. Mine comes to an end a couple of inches before I'd like it to.
Talking.
Anybody can do it.
Well, we're going to put you to the test, because we're going to have a volunteer, Juanita. You won't have noticed shy Juanita much during the series. We set out to make her a star. Now, Juanita, have you made many public speeches?
A couple, yeah.
Funny ones?
Probably not, no.
Probably not. Do you think you could do what Graham just did?
I could have a bash at it, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see you later. Graham, Juanita, thank you very much indeed.
Talking.
I think there are some very good communicators. I think there are some appalling communicators. I sit in the House of Lords and I hear both kinds.
I think that a parliamentarian needs to be able to get over both a political message and a personal message. You can only deliver both of those if you are committed to the political message. And you can only get over your personality and what you stand for in life if you really feel it inside, and that you speak with passion and you are positive in what you have to say.
It seems to me those that do communicate do prepare themselves well.
Secondly, it seems to me that they present with conviction. I mean, they really believe in whatever it is they're trying to communicate to the House.
Professor Max Atkinson, a leading authority on the way in which politicians speak, and perhaps you can tell us why, why so much of it is claptrap, to be honest with you.
Yes, well, it's more claptrap than you might think, because one of the definitions of claptrap that's not widely known is that claptrap is a trick, device or language designed to catch applause. And in fact, the research that we've done into how politicians win applause in political speeches shows that about 75% of all the bursts of applause they ever get occur after they've used one or other of about 6 rhetorical techniques or forms of words. In order to really understand the problem of public speaking, you have to start from the point which everybody knows as being in an audience, which is that all speeches, lectures, sermons and so on have a tremendous capacity for sending audiences to sleep. And what that means is that the speaker has to formulate his messages in ways which are going to keep the audience alert and keep them with them.
The square mile around the House of Commons has a debating language and communication means which are almost lost on the rest of the public, and the public dip into this almost as you would dip into a Martian assembly, and it's not our world. And I think politicians, because they're all professional politicians now, don't live in the real world anymore, are communicating with each other, but I don't think they're communicating with the voters, and I think that explains why disillusion with our politicians across the spectrum is at the highest level, certainly that I've ever known it.
I'm sorry, but I really don't think any are as good as the great speakers of the past. Not because they're not naturally so talented, but because they haven't had the opportunities. They really haven't learnt how to do it.
The House of Commons is full of people at different stages in their careers, and sometimes you look at them and wonder quite how they came to get there. But one of my colleagues once said to me that if you look at most of the people, for instance, in the Labour Party, however elderly and dozy they might seem, all of them at one point must have made a really brilliant speech. I mean, that's how they got there.
I'm going to show 4 devices, and I'd like to begin by showing a clip from a speech that Mrs. Thatcher made at the beginning of the 1987 general election. In it, there are 2 consecutive contrasts, both of which get applauded. People, I gather, for example, Tony Benn, who I rate as an extremely effective speaker, denies that he uses techniques at all, even though one can find plenty of examples in all the speeches he ever makes.
Well, I suppose you can analyse speech-making if you like, but like taking a great oil painting and writing it entirely in terms of the chemical nature of the pigment on the canvas. Well, who cares? I mean, the point is the picture's there. And I think this attempt to analyse hand movements, pauses, pausing for effect, talking through applause. I've heard some of the stuff. I think it is rubbish. But it's not only rubbish, but it is destructive of the understanding of what is said. You can destroy understanding by over-analysis.
I think his problem is that he seems to think that what I'm saying is that if you're technically accomplished, that somehow, therefore, you're not being sincere and passionate. Whereas that's not at all what I'm saying. My position is that there's no point in being sincere and passionate about something if you lack the technical skill to communicate it. And there's no inconsistency between, if you like, using techniques and being passionate and sincere. And I think the best illustration I can give of that is to look at somebody using the techniques and to ask the question, really, of you in the audience, whether now you can see him using them, do you feel any less moved by the sequence? In it, you'll see the speaker using, first of all, a list of 3 with imagery about going up to a mountaintop, and then you'll see him using a mighty contrast at the end.
What I do is very much in the same style of the American preachers. I spent a lot of time in church also, Martin Luther King, etc. We do a lot of repetition. If we want to say to you, you know, who killed Colin Roach? We'll say, who killed Colin Roach? A lot of people want to know who killed Colin Roach. Then better tell the people, no, who killed Colin Roach? And you walk away from the performance going, who killed Colin Roach? Who killed Colin Roach? It's drummed home. I mean, a lot of people in the literary world hate that, you know, lots of repetition. But when we're writing, thinking of performance, and it's political, and we've got a message, we've got something we want to say, something we want people to remember, then repetition, I believe, is the best device.